Welcome to a special interview segment of Joe and the Fat Man. This is Joe Smeltzer from Nittany Sports Now, and we're in November, which means that football is not going to be the only game in town anymore. Penn State basketball is starting, Penn State hockey has started, and this Friday, Penn State wrestling will be opening its dual meet season with a meet against Oklahoma at Rec Hall starting at 6 p.m. And as much mystery as there is surrounding the Penn State football program and whatever is going to become of the post James Franklin era, Penn State wrestling, there isn't really as much mystery. Penn State's won 12 of the past 14 national titles. This season is not expected to go any differently, but there's going to be some new faces, and there's always new stories to talk about with Penn State wrestling. And to talk about that today, we have the content director for FloWrestling and FloSports, Christian Pyles. If you're a wrestling fan and you're on social media, you probably know this guy. You probably see his posts regularly. Christian, first off, thanks for taking the time, and we'll just get right into it. Obviously, there isn't a ton of mystery as opposed to how the season's going to end. I think the expectation is that Penn State's going to win another national title. The question is how many points they're going to win by. But as far as the storylines, what to watch going into this season goes, what is there about this program that makes you think that this season could be differences with this season as opposed to what we've seen in the past?
Well, it's actually hard to think of a difference, right? Because when you combine the amount of talent that Penn State has returning with the talent that's coming in, it's hard to think of anything differently happening. Now, the faces will be different in some weight classes, but it's hard to expect anything other than incredible levels of success. I think there's a lot of excitement because of those new faces you mentioned. It's very likely we see Marcus Blaze right away at 133 for Penn State. Ton of reason for excitement around Marcus. His reputation is well known as a U20 world champion, a guy that made a senior national team in high school, just on and on and on. A guy who in high school as a junior, I think he was a junior, might have been a sophomore, beat Matt Ramos, the number one ranked guy in the country. So this is a guy that comes in with a ton of hype. He was someone who, if you talk to, if you get a little insight around, not much gets out, as you know, Joe, for like the Penn State camp, right? That it's insular. But one thing that was really apparent is that Marcus Blaze wasn't just a guy they were recruiting. He was a priority that at the end of the day for the class of 2025, it's like, yeah, okay, get this guy, but more than anything, get Marcus Blaze. And I think when you have that level of focus from a program that can kind of that has like spoils of talent, that tells you kind of how he's regarded. And that can, talking with other coaches, that's kind of how they viewed him. And then you've got PJ Duke, who maybe is a bigger, name than Marcus right now because he made the senior world team. He beat Yanni Diakomahalis, and he is going to go right away. I've been talking about this since last spring that I think PJ is going to wrestle right away, and they're going to redshirt K-Sac, and that was thought to be. This was before he beat Yanni. This is before he made his run at the World Team Trials. But I thought weight-wise it made sense, and we can get into it more. But PJ won U20s. He represented USA at the Senior World Championships and U23s, and there's no reason to be anything but excited about PJ's prospects at 157. And then 41 will be different. That's going to be Davis or Nagel. Nagel makes sense just because he doesn't have a red shirt and Davis does, and you kind of view them both sort of similarly. I'm jumping around a little bit. I don't know where you wanted me to go, Joe. And then you got Connor Mirasola, my guy. Love the Mirasola boys. Their dad, John, great guy. Excited to see what Connor can do. He's little for the weight, but he's a dog.
Yeah, so talking about PJ Duke, because obviously that's a really hard decision going with potentially generational true freshman who's already beaten some of the best versus a guy that was the number one seed at that weight class coming into nationals last year. How confident are you that PJ Duke does start right away against Oklahoma? Because as you mentioned, Penn State keeps a lot quiet. So what do you think the odds are that Duke does start Friday based on what you know?
Barring him not getting injured between now and Friday, he's going to wrestle 157 for Penn State. against Oklahoma. So yeah, I'm very confident in that.
Yeah, so I'm talking about the guys that we do know who are returning from last season. Luke Lillidahl, 125, had a big Big Ten tournament, came in as the number one seed. Did a lot of good things at nationals, ended up finishing third. But with him being a big time favorite coming into this season, how do you expect him to follow up what he was able to do in what was overall a very successful true freshman year?
Yeah, very successful year. I don't know if I would say he's a big favorite at 125. I think he's a contender. I think he's maybe a favorite, the favorite. But Vince Robinson's there and he did
Yep.
it. Vince Robinson is not some guy who's been around for that guy was a freshman as well, a redshirt freshman, with seemingly incredible upside and potential to get better. Now Luke is he had a great year, and even he had a great NCAA tournament. Listen, losing to Sheldon Seymour, that was a shock. But this is a guy who I think his Big Ten tournament made you kind of forget he lost to Brendan McCrone and Dean Peterson in the regular season. He had a true freshman year, and I I have a hard time picking against Luke Lillidahl. His what he showed in freestyle is has always been there. He's won a world title at U17, U20, and U23. There's just not a lot of people on the planet that have done that, let alone in America. And this is a guy who's really good in a tournament setting. I think for Luke, if his offensive output, he's an offensive guy, but if he can get off more attacks, he's going to be really tough to beat because his defense is there. He's got great hustle and speed. He's lightning Luke for a reason. And the learnings from last year, I think, are going to be, instrumental for him coming into this season. And there's not a lot of people that probably aren't going to pick Luke Lillidahl to win this year. But I think if he doesn't show that offensive separation, a weight like this that's so deep with darty, good wrestlers that are hard to get to, if he's not separating, he's going to go into the quarterfinals with a tough match. He's going to have a tough semi. These are going to be hard matches. It's hard to be a dominant force at 125 because everyone is
Mm.
generally really, really good. And so he's going to have to be, a little bit better next year to win. But all reports are that that's what we're going to see from Luke.
So talking about another, we were talking about the new faces earlier, and then another one is Rocco Welsh transferring in. 184. There's a lot of heavy hitters there. With we know how good Max McAnally is. We know how good Angelo Ferrari can be. Where do you see him in that picture at 184? And is he a guy that could become the champ at that class?
Yes, I think he is a guy that could become the champ. He is entering what you need to remember. Rocco, as a true freshman, made the NCAA finals. That's incredible and rare. But what you also need to consider is the vast differences in those weight classes, and particularly that bracket. That bracket had five-time national champion Carter Starachi, national champion Shane Griffith, national champion Makai Lewis, all top side. So he made the finals, beating Lennox Wolak in the semifinal. I bring that up to say the level of competition for Rocco to make the NCAA final is going to be completely different. It's just Max McAnally is one of the best 86 kilograms in the world. He beat an Iranian this year that is a fantastic senior level wrestler. What Max was able to accomplish as a freshman, where he pushed Starachi like no one really did last year. He pushed Parker Keckeisen in the way only Carter Starachi did. So I think he's in a pretty special class where I think for all the excitement around Angelo, around Rocco, around Zach Ryder, Aiden Sinclair, I think there's still a gap there between Max McAnally and everyone else. And for Rocco to make the finals, he's gonna have to be better than he was, but it's very intuitive that he is better. He made the U23 World Team. The thing for Rocco is his offensive output as well. It's a similar theme. Like when this guy's attacking, he's really really dangerous. But if you play the game where you want to win a one takedown match, that lets the inferior wrestler times hang around. And Rocco in 95% of his matches is going to be the favorite. So if he has that separation, that's going to be a big deal for him. And we'll see how it looks for him up at 184. I think he's going to be the right size for this weight class. But yeah, they've got a contender there. They've got one of the guys that can win it. But make no mistake, this is for my money. I think this is the weight in college wrestling. This is the one we're going to be talking about all year, Joe. And this is one where I don't think we're going to enter the NCAA tournament in Cleveland feeling very confident in anything other than it's going to be fun.
So going to Penn State had two individual champs last year. Obviously, Carter Sirachi's gone. Mitchell Messenbrink is still here. Messenbrink entered 2023-24 looking to make a name for himself. Did that in a big way. Entered last season looking to finish the job after getting to the national championship match and almost beating David Carr. He finished the job last year, and the next step seems to be the Hodge Trophy with Wyatt Hendrickson and Carter Sirachi gone. How do you expect Mitchell Messenbrink to improve on what was already almost a perfect season last year? And would he be your pick to win the Hodge Trophy right now?
I think so. He needs to get some pins. This guy
Yep.
kills everyone, but no pins. And should that be a thing? I mean, you kind of factor in a little bit, but to me, bonus rate is going to be really high for Mitchell. There's not many guys that are going to be able to stand up to him in last 7 minutes. Caliendo made strides. And if that's the only guy that's competitive with him, I think he probably will. I honestly think if I had to guess his top competition for the Hodge Trophy this year, I would say it's his teammate Levi Haynes. I think Levi coming off a third place finish, but I think we have a different Levi Haynes on our hands from what we saw last year. What he did at the World Championships, what he did at U23s, that was a loaded U23 bracket. He made the World Finals on the senior level, beating a world champion. I think he's going to be mowing dudes over, a lot of pins. And so he could be the guy that gives Mitchell his toughest run. But for Mitchell, you look, all right, who else could step up and challenge Mitchell this year? We already know Caliendo. Okay, Caliendo from Iowa. He is excellent. And no one beats Caliendo but Mitchell. So there's been separation there. D. Lockett enters the conversation. D. Lockett's been talking a lot about, not trash, but he's Messenbrink's on his mind. They wrestled at the Olympic trials a couple of years ago. D. Lockett's a superstar. He already beat a two-time All-American in his first match. He's going to be in the conversation. But for me, Joey Blaze of Purdue, who Penn State fans are familiar with. One, he's Marcus's brother. Two, he beat Tyler Kasak last year in a shocking match. That stunned me. And so I think Joey Blaze, he's a really good freestyler. I think 165 is the best weight for him. I think he's someone that could enter that conversation. I wouldn't be surprised if Blaze picks off one of these guys. Probably, maybe not Messenbrink, but if he gives Caliendo a real fight, I'm not going to be surprised at all about that. So, long way of saying I think Mitchell is in the gun to your head in November before he set foot on the mat pick to win. But he was my pick last year at this time last year. And then Wyatt Hendrickson beats Gable Steveson. Point being, this is a very unpredictable sport that I think is becoming, even though Penn State does a lot to make it to make it very predictable, I still think the sport is becoming more and more unpredictable because the level is so high. And Penn State, for as great as they are, they can only start 10 guys. So, I think we'll continue to have that unpredictability.
So, talking about the Oklahoma dual meet, what matchups from what is projected kind of stick out to you and that you're looking forward to see?
Well, I would say, PJ Duke versus Hippolito will be great. Hippolito transferred from Virginia Tech to Oklahoma. He's from Brazil. He has a crazy upper body style. He's kind of fearless. I think that could be a catastrophe potentially against PJ Duke, who is competent upper body. I mean, more than competent. That's maybe an understatement. But it's his first match. Hippolito is dangerous and fearless generally. So I think that will be that's the match for me. I don't know if we'll see Peyton Keller for Oklahoma. In fact, I don't think we will. That'll be a great one for Messenbrink. Penn State fans will recall Peyton Keller wrestled Tyler Kasak really tough last year at the All-Star. It was a 1-point win, I think, for Kasak. So that would be a good one. And same for 49 with Jack Joffrey versus Shane Van Ness. That would be a number 3 versus number 1. But again, I don't know if Joffrey's wrestling. So those stand out to me. If Joffrey goes, that's a big one. I think Shane's a really big favorite there. But really, you just want to get eyes on these guys. Like, you can learn a lot, and that's one thing people should know. Sergio Vega wrestled an unranked guy from Stanford. It's like, you still saw that Sergio has a lot, that he's got a lot of ways to score. You don't necessarily need to see them against an All-American to know kind of where they fit. Does Marcus Blaze come out offensive and trying to score the whole time? Or is he, got the hands up? Is he getting the 1 to 2 takedowns and winning a match in a controlled fashion? That's what I want to see. Aaron Nagao on the shelf last year, right? This guy had an amazing freshman campaign at Minnesota. It was different his next year for Penn State. Now, I think there were some injuries and other things going on, but it wasn't the same. And so now he's up at a weight class. How does he look? What does Penn State have in store at 141? Where, let's be honest, this is a team that could potentially challenge for that, not just the team title, but breaking their scoring record for the 3rd year in a row. But you need contribution from the Aaron Nagals and the Connor Mirasolas. And so this is your first look. And yeah, he's maybe going to be going against Alex Braun from Oklahoma. How he looks matters. Does he dominate here? How does Connor or Cole Mirasola? Cole is the heavyweight. Connor is the 197 pounder. And we may see Connor at 197 because I don't know Barr's availability. But there's you can learn a lot in matches where you're a big favorite. Rocco Welsh, Brian Soldano. I mean, Soldano is maybe the craziest wrestler in America. I mean, he goes to his back willingly and takes all kinds of shit. Now, how that goes against someone like Rocco Welsh, that could go sideways quickly. But a lot to be excited about.
So there's a lot of people following wrestling that want to see Penn State wrestle the other prominent program from Oklahoma. Well, there's a few prominent programs, but Oklahoma State, ever since David Taylor got the job, that's something people have been wondering. Penn State really wouldn't have a lot to gain by going against Oklahoma State or anybody else because the program has nothing to prove, but it's something that a lot of wrestling people want to see. So where do you stand on that? Do you think that this is something that should happen? And do you think there's a realistic chance it does happen in the near future?
Yeah, you have to remember I'm a wrestling fan. That's really what I am deep down. So, man, of course I want to see this. And I think I'm not on an island here. I think the people listening to this podcast, Penn State wrestling fans, if I tell you David Taylor and the Cowboys are coming to Rec Hall or the Bryce Jordan Center, that's the biggest duel of the year.
Mm-hmm.
So that your fans want it. Penn State fans want it. Oklahoma State fans want it. Everyone wants this duel to happen. Now the question is like, now you're like saying, okay, I'm Cale Sanderson and I have to do, no, I don't think should. I think it would be great. And I think in a more professionalized sport, they wouldn't have a choice in the matter. Right. But the coaches make the schedule and he can do what he wants. And if their formula works, there was a time they wrestled Oklahoma State, they've wrestled them in the past. And now we've seen the Penn State schedule has, from 2011 to now, it's morphed in a lot of ways. You've always had the tough Big Ten dual season, but now, they do the journeyman collegiate duels, which are pretty tough, but they don't see the need for a lot of additional rigor in their schedule. And how can you fault the greatest coach in the world right now? I mean, is there a coach in sports having more success than Cale Sanderson?
I don't think so.
So I've actually looked into this. I'm trying to find that. Is there someone better than Cale Sanderson at their job? I don't know. I'm looking for that person, Joe. So
it isn't me. I can tell you that. So
it ain't me. It ain't me. So I would say, should is, there's a lot of people that'll hide behind like, oh, grow the sport, do what I want you to do. Like I'm not that guy, but come on. Of course I want to see that duel. Of course would it be the best thing for wrestling? Of course. And we don't have a lot of Super Bowl type of matches. Like Penn State, Iowa is one of them. Iowa, Oklahoma State, that's another one. Like there's a few. Iowa, Iowa State. There's a few like big time must watch appointment viewing duels. And there's no question that we would have another one of those things, and that could only be a good thing for wrestling. It'd be great for me. It would be the most exciting thing. But now you get these drips and drabs of like, oh, they'll kind of hit in some matches at NCAAs. It's not the same thing. So yeah, I want to see it, but I'm not holding my breath. I do not anticipate Penn State putting Oklahoma State on schedule. Do I think Oklahoma State would? I do, but when you're in their position, that's an easy thing to say. And Iowa deals with this too. There's a lot of like, okay, you want to wrestle the Iowa Hawkeyes? Well, get in line. Everyone wants to wrestle Iowa because Tom Brand's, they talk about him not wrestling UNI and why that does or doesn't happen. It's like, they have a tough schedule as is, and they don't see the need to add that. And yeah, of course, UNI wants it. Of course, the school that's chasing wants that opportunity. But I disagree, Joe, that they don't have anything to gain from the dual meet. It's not true. If you put a really tough dual meet on your schedule and you go and you make the walk, that's proving something. If you go and you win,
Right.
you are proving something. So I think there's something to be said for a team or an individual athlete putting it on the line. I think that's something that wrestling people and wrestling fans really respect a lot. Like, you didn't have to take this match, but like Jordan Burroughs would enter the U.S. Open. It gave him no benefit whatsoever, and he would just go and he would do it for the fans. He would wrestle, and there's others that have done that, and that's a good thing. That's a good thing.
Yep.
So it's not that there's nothing to prove. It's they don't want to do it, and I understand those reasons.
What do you think the relationship, or I shouldn't say what do you think because you're in there. What is the relationship between David Taylor and Cael Sanderson and really NLWC in general since he made the move to Stillwater?
Well, I'm not in there,
Yeah,
so
that was
I'm
poorly phrased on me. So
yeah, it would be speculation, but I would say the entire relationship is drastically changed. They are David and Cael are after the same thing. They are they're trying to get the same wrestlers. They're trying to win the national tournament. This is a deeply this is I mean Cael Sanderson is the ultimate competitor in everything. He is striving for excellence in everything. And I while I don't think Cael doesn't fault David for leaving. I don't think that at all. But I think that relation when Cael was notified, when David told him, I think that was a turning point in that relationship, and it'll probably never be the same again. And is that sad? Yeah, a little bit. And I don't think anyone's at fault in that. But I'm trying when it's that competitive, and um, I don't think it could. I mean, I'm putting myself in those shoes,
mm.
and man, it would just change things. It would just change things.
So as far as the future goes, when is there going to be a timetable? Do you think to where we go into the NCAA championships not knowing who's going to win the team title? Obviously, Virginia Tech with Bo Bassett, Melvin Miller, Oklahoma State's been recruiting well. Iowa's on a good recruiting run this week. What's the timetable for going in and thinking that there's a possibility that Penn State might not win at all?
I feel like that's going to be the theme of this year, and really for me, it's Oklahoma. How much higher the ladder does Oklahoma State climb? Do they get closer? Because they've got 5 freshmen in the lineup now. They've got Jax Forrest and the Rainies and Drayshawn Ross coming to Stillwater next year. I feel like we're going to go into there's a chance we could go into the next preseason being like, this is the collision. This is the year where Oklahoma State maybe can put a team that challenges. And right off the rip, if Landon Robidoux is a title contender, if Zach Ryder is someone that can be wrestling Saturday night, if Alex Facundo, someone Penn State fans know really well,
Mhm.
as they do Ryder, if he's a guy that's a top 4 or 5 guy, these things start to fall into place. If Troy Spratley's a national champ, if Richard Figueroa finds his form, if Sergio Vega's the truth, we don't know. So we're going to learn a lot this year. And I'm hopeful. I mean, I just think it's good. I think competitive team races are just good for the team. So I'm not rooting for Oklahoma State to beat Penn State or Iowa I'm indifferent there. But it is just unquestionably a good thing. I mean, the 2018 NCAA tournament in Cleveland was the greatest ever. It was the greatest team race of all time. It was a juggernaut Ohio State team that wins NCAAs almost every year. But it was a juggernaut Penn State team, and they had this epic duel at Rec Hall that where Kassar beats Colin Moore, and then they go to the NCAA tournament. It comes down to Miles versus Bo, and Bo, like that whole team race. That was incredible. That was everything that makes college sports great. And so I want to have that again, and I would love it if it was this year. And I'll tell you that Tom Brands is not thinking about, oh, I hope we can get a trophy this year. That's a guy that's thinking about winning the national title. David Taylor, and I interviewed him on Friday. I think it was Friday, and basically the same thing. It's like, yeah, trophy. We're after one. We're trying to win. We're all trying to win national titles. So that's that team's mindset, and same for Nebraska. But it's so hard when you've got so many. It's just hard. Penn State, they never slip on the banana peel. You know, they're
Right.
bad. They're bad. Oh, okay. Nick Lee, and I think this was 2018. Oh, Nick Lee, he got pinned by Ryan Deal in the first round of NCAAs that year. Like, oh, this is an opening. And then he wrestles back as a true freshman and gets like 5th place. You've got, Drew Hildebrandt one time didn't play. Like, it's very small things, the drop offs that Penn State got. Vincenzo Joseph doesn't win NCAAs. They just don't ever really falter at the tournament, which means you've got to either punch above your weight if you're the challenging team, or you have to be just straight up better than them. And that's just a really, really high bar for any team to reach. But I'm telling you what, Oklahoma State does have a pretty special thing going on. And what he did, and I talk about they are after the same thing. They're after the same art, at Team USA goals, the international goals. Like that's another area where it's competitive. So yeah, another long-winded answer.
So talking about the future of Penn State wrestling, obviously it's hard to follow a recruiting class that has Marcus Blaze and PJ Duke. It might be darn near impossible to do that, but you have Jaden James committed to 26. You have Landon Sidden in 27. You have some talent there coming in as you would expect. What are your early thoughts on the next 2 Penn State recruiting classes and what they might bring for the future of this program?
Well, they obviously a great class coming in that we're going to see Friday. But yeah, I think Jaden James is someone. I think he's going to be really special. The level he's at technically is really, really high. I feel like he's going to get a lot better. He's he's young still, and he's more than anything. If Jaden James ends up starting for 4 years, it's hard to envision a 4-year starter for Penn State in that weight range. Just look at it, 65, 74, wherever he thought. That is just title contention guaranteed. So if you're that guy in that spot, it's going to be good. So I think Jaden James, he's a highly coveted recruit. Everyone wants him. Penn State got him. I feel like stylistically he fits what they're trying to do. And yeah, I think the sky is the limit for someone like Jaden. And then Landon Sidden, love his game. Very powerful guy. And I think he's going to deliver for them. I'm not sure who else they have. They have some other guys committed there, but I definitely know more about those guys. Maybe there's some others I'm missing right now for Penn State commitments. You can refresh my memory, but I really like those two guys for sure. And not every recruit. Oklahoma State had a really big class this year, but it's not like that every year, right? Like sometimes, and for different teams, it's like this year. It's actually not about getting 6 big borders. It's like we need this weight and this weight, and you really get super focused on that because it's not like you're getting the same size class every year, the same level of talent every year. And Penn State's been like that for a while now. Like they'll have monster class where they get a bunch of guys, and then the next year they'll get one. They'll get Nick Sirianni and Mark Hall. That was like their class one year. It's like, well, those were pretty good guys. So it's very strategic, and maybe in the era of NIL, I think they don't have to be as choosy, maybe. But yeah, I think sometimes those big classes are hard to follow up with another big one, and it's not necessary either.
All right, last one. Going back to the current team, a theme over the past few years has been Cale's best team ever 2 years ago, breaking the scoring margin record last year, 10 All-Americans. They're going to follow it up in a big way this year. But the question is, do you think there's a chance that we're leaving Cleveland in late March saying this one tops them all? This is Cale's best team.
There's a possibility if you run through it. I'll just ask you. Can Luke Lillidahl win a national title?
Absolutely.
Can Marcus Blaze?
Yep.
Shane Van Ness?
Yep. He's been close.
PJ Duke?
Yep.
Mitchell Messenbrink?
Obviously.
Levi Haynes?
Obviously.
Rocco?
Yep.
And Barr? That's 8.
We'll see where Barr's self is, but
what are you hearing?
I don't know. It's kind of hard to say with injuries. Man, as you mentioned, Penn State's pretty tight-lipped about things, but I would hope. I don't think it's going to be something that ends the season, so I would expect him to be out there and in there. So
I think he'll be. I mean, it's ribs. I mean, it looked like ribs. Feels like something where he'll need some time off the mat, but that guy's so good. So my point being, they may not get 10 All-Americans this year. They have 10 All-American contenders without a doubt. But if you got 8 guys that could very reasonably be wrestling on Saturday night, I'm not making a prediction for 8 champions, right. But just their track record of their performance relative to expectation is normally pretty congruent. And so when you think about that, yeah, they could be looking at. They could have 6, 7, 8 guys in the finals and 5 champs or something like that. And if you do that, that's really where that's where the major points are, and those bonus points, and then making those finals, getting those 16 and 20 team points are so big. So I would say it absolutely could be his best team of all time for sure.
All right, Christian Pyles, FloWrestling, thank you very much for joining us, and looking forward to a big season ahead.
Thanks, buddy. Thanks for covering wrestling, bud.
Yeah, absolutely.
See you, Joe.